driving in England on the wrong side of the road. We have been driving. We've been in the Cotswolds for 4 days, and we have driven all over. We picked up our rental car in Bath, and that's where we are returning it today, and then taking the train into London. But Eric has done all of the driving, and he read the 200-page English driver's manual
for road signs.
Because there are so many road signs, and they're all different. And
I even took an online sample road test as well.
Like that you would take if you were getting your driver's license?
Yes.
And so...
reading the road manual really helped.
It did? What was helpful about it?
Just knowing what all the signs mean, knowing what all the marks on the road mean. Now we know what everything is, which has been very, very helpful. Like, it's 189 pages, but it's worth spending an hour or so and just familiarizing yourself with all the signs.
Okay. What has been the most fun about driving in England?
I don't think I would call it fun. It's been terrifying. Just a whole lifetime of driving over there, and just, think of it, when you go to work and stuff, you don't really think about driving. You're kind of on automatic pilot in a way. And here you have to be hyper aware like every second. So this road is a nice wide road, which is way smaller than anything we would have. America, it's about to get really narrow here.
Do you really feel like this is smaller? Oh, so we're entering
This is smaller here.
Like a little teeny tiny tunnel.
Yes, it's way smaller. Because there's, the lanes in the U.S. are wider than this, and there's shoulders on the roads as well. Almost any road. And here, this is a wide road. And it just, at times, especially when there's big trucks that take up an entire lane and take up a little bit of my lane, it's terrifying. But in some of the smaller towns, the roads are half the size. So it's just one lane with little pull-offs every couple hundred feet. So there's a car coming, I have a pull-off here. You pull into it and you wait for them to go by.
So will you splice some of those situations into the video at this point?
I don't know if my editing ability is that good, but we'll see.
You can try.
And we got some pheasants in the field.
Oh yeah, lots of pheasants, but we're definitely not going to see those. But in other videos, we have where pheasants cross the street right in front of you, which is something I think is kind of scary.
And they're very slow. So they are not like crows or something, which would just think, I'm going to fly and fly away. I think pheasants can fly, so I don't know why they don't, but there are a lot of dead pheasants in the area. But it's very beautiful, and I would say this is a better way to do it, even though it's scary. It's something you can just go slow and keep saying, on the left, on the left, on the left. I was expecting rotaries to be very tricky, and they have not been.
Do you think they're similar, easier, or harder than the rotaries where we live? We live in New England, where there are a lot of rotaries, but we've lived in other places like Alabama or Oregon, where there are no rotaries.
There are just everywhere. There are rotaries off of rotaries, which sometimes is very handy here, because if you get off on the wrong exit, you just use that little rotary to turn around and get right back on.
And sometimes rotaries are called roundabouts, so I think it's the same thing depending on where you live.
Yes. But this is a better way, because there's a lot of little villages in the Cotswolds you can't see by train. Like, you can't go to Byberry by train. I don't even think you can go to Stow-On-The-Wold by train. You have to take a bus or something.
Yeah, and I think in the Cotswolds specifically, the buses don't run necessarily 7 days a week or all times of the day. So you might have, a very in and out specific times. But I did read that sometimes there's shuttles in between villages, but not usually. But that it can happen.
Yes. But
All right.
This has been a little bit wacky as far as, at least for instance, the turn signals is on the same side as we're used to over here on the left, and the wipers are on the right. I was afraid that they would also be switched, and every time I'd go to try to signal, I would be doing the wipers, and that has not been the case. One thing that was a little bit trippy with this car that we did not plan for, because we brought our dashboard cam with us. Dash cam camera.
Oh, the van troop.
Yeah, but this is a brand new rental car, and it just has USB-C plugs in it, and our camera is the big chunky USB, so it did not fit in it.
And we didn't have the wherewithal to find a dongle or something to connect it. There's some sheep over there, hard to see, but in a field.
So I'm just taking it slow. Right now, my car is telling me that the speed limit is 60 miles an hour, so it's in miles an hour, not kilometers here. Everything else is in metric, except for distances for some reason. But
Oh, here's sheep again.
sheep.
They're lambs. Tiny.
But I'm going 45 in the 60. I feel like it's a little bit fast just because it's a narrow road. But I also have a line of cars behind me, which are keeping a safe and respectable distance. That's one thing I've noticed. People are a lot nicer drivers here. They're a lot more considerate than in the U.S. I think only one or two people have just flat out passed us.
Yeah, I really don't hear any honking, or there doesn't seem to be any real tailgating.
No. It's been a lot nicer. It's definitely a much nicer culture in that respect. But yeah, I think the scariest parts are those little tiny country roads, like when we went to Broadway Tower and over to Snows Hill. It was just these teeny tiny little roads, and sometimes you're going around a corner and someone is flying around that corner fast because they're used to driving on those roads, and you have to stop, and then you have to pull over as far as you can. You're probably driving through ruts and areas you should not be driving, but there's no other place to go. Those are some scary times, but this has been a great way to see the country.
So you would rent a car again and drive again?
Yes.
Anything to know about renting a car?
It was pretty easy. The renting thing. The person at the car rental place was super nice.
That's true.
The gas, when you get gas, it'll say 1.31, and that's £1.31 per liter. So there's roughly about 4 liters per gallon. So it's probably roughly about $5-6 a gallon here.
Yeah, so when we got this rental car, it had about a quarter of a tank, and we filled it up.
In a quarter of a mile, turn left onto Cirencester Road.
We filled it up, and it was 60 pounds, but with the exchange rate, that's going to be $80-some, right?
Yeah, it was really expensive.
It was really expensive to fill the car up, and you don't have to. We didn't get it full, and we don't have to return it full. We just have to return it at what we got it, but we'll be
Turn
returning
left
it
onto Cirencester Road.
with a lot more gas than it came with, which is fine. But I think something that was helpful about driving over here was before we came, we did watch other people's videos about how
Continue
to put
for 1 mile.
the petrol in the car, because it is a little bit different. Some gas caps need keys. To tell what kind of petrol you're putting in is important, and it varies based on the car, but there's a little sticker inside the door that tells you. Also, in England, people can hang their gas caps up on the inside of the gas tank door, and I think that that's pretty good. I wish we could do that on our cars.
We probably can. I don't think I've ever noticed it before.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it. I'm definitely gonna look more closely at mine next time I get gas. Okay, so there's a speed limit sign, 30.
Basically, when you see the red, it means don't go above, and then the number inside.
Okay, so if you had one top tip to give somebody who is considering driving in England, who is not used to driving on the left, what would your top tip be?
My biggest problem has been veering over to the left because, okay, so see this? People are parked in the road, and I am letting their...
Everybody does wave, though, and see that little flash?
Me.
They're saying, like, you can go. It's very nice, and then you must wave because everyone here waves. Thank you.
My biggest thing is trying to not hit the curbs on the left because I am so nervous. Thank you.
So what's your top tip for that? Because that was the question.
You have to kind of get over the fear of being in traffic, like driving in traffic. Not sure why it routed us this way.
I don't know, but it's lovely. Is this Tewkesbury?
I don't know what town we're in.
So, whoops. Okay, so we have to... Are you going to back up?
I can't. Someone's right behind me.
Oops, well, we're trying anyway.
There we go. See?
And then on the first day you drove, your hands were so sore from gripping the steering wheel.
Yes.
But it
In
is
200 yards at the roundabout, continue straight onto Church Street, A433.
I feel like I can never interrupt that lady. Because it is hard to see around corners when, like, I can't look in the rear view mirror because everything I see in it is so different than what I'm used to, that I'm not a car sick person, but it was actually making me feel kind of car sickish when we first got here. Yep, so we're in Tetbury. There's the fish and chip shop.
I don't know why she's...
And this is a little roundabout.
Okay, there's a person.
It's
Hi.
just a circle with these arrows painted. And this must be the farmer's market for the day. Maybe she sent us this way so that we would stop and... I guess not.
I can stop.
This is a zebra crossing. No, you don't need to stop. I want to get to Bath. But this is lovely.
Okay, the road is widening.
Okay, so what are these? It's telling us it's 40 miles this way.
40 miles an hour.
30 miles on that side of the street.
But yeah, it just my nature is to avoid oncoming traffic and veer to the left. But I also read that the number one thing that Americans do when driving in England is burst their tires by hitting the curb because they're just afraid of the oncoming traffic and the narrow roads. So you just kind of have to get over that and basically kind of drive on the line with your right side on the line. It's so scary, but that's what you got to do. So we had a method where Carrie would say, what would you say?
Oh, scooch.
Scooch.
We were trying to make it not scary or like frightening. So I didn't want to be like, get over, or we're going to die. So instead we just said scooch, which was a nicer, gentler, easier way of saying you're too close to the left. But of course that wouldn't work if you were driving by yourself. There wouldn't be anyone to scoot you. But I think that worked pretty
very well.
decently.
Yeah.
Also, when I learned to drive, hoods used to have like a line down the middle. And I was taught to just look at the end of the hood at the end of the line and to make sure it seemed like it was in the center of the road, and that's how I would know I was in the center of my lane. But a lot of cars don't have that. See, like it's hard to see around the corner.
And sometimes there's an actual stone curb on the side of the road, and sometimes there isn't. Like there isn't one here, but back there, about 100 feet, there was.
Okay, so your top tip was, I forgot already.
Don't hit the curb.
Don't hit the curb. Okay, well, I guess that's a tip for sure. Anything special to know about connecting your own phone for directions to the car? Like you could just use a regular aux cable like we would use at home, right?
Yeah, like so I had lots of cables, but that's just in case. So I've got a USB-C to Lightning because our phones still use Lightning cables. And so there's two of them here, so we're each charging our phones, which is nice. And they connect fine with the car. We made sure that we got, before we went on the trip, there's a cell phone company called GiffGaff, and we signed up we just asked for their SIM cards, and they mailed them to us for free in the US, which was nice. And then we activated them before we left, and then before we got on the airplane to come here, we switched out our SIM card for an English one, so when we landed, we were good to go. And we had internet, which has been spotty, I think because we've been in the Cotswolds and all the buildings have like
they're like 4 feet thick with made from stone. Yeah.
So we have not had the best signals, but it's it has been handy to have internet here and there. Like right now, we've got great 4G. That seems to be the best I've seen so far. I haven't seen any like LTE or 5G, but it's been handy having a phone number too. Like there's a hotel that we stayed in, and we gave them the phone number, and they could text us to let us know when the room was ready. So that's been handy. So it's I would highly recommend that instead of just winging it, because it's been nice having the Google lady tell us where to go.
Yeah. So it looks like it's definitely a little more autumnal than it was on our way up in just a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, so also in England, you don't have to get a driving license, a temporary driving license. You can just drive with your American license. At the rental car place, they did not really give us any tips or tricks, except for to look right, which I guess would be one of my biggest tips.
When you're at a rotary or an intersection.
Anytime you're going to turn or cross the street, look right. And they didn't really have a practice area either. They had a small parking lot where we kind of practiced backing up, checking our mirrors.
Back and forth it a few times, and I also, because this car is a little bit bigger than my car at home, it's a good size bigger. I was worried about the edges of the car, so I was driving like trying to like bump into the curb a little bit just to feel like, okay, how wide is this car?
Yeah, so let's see. We talked about gas. We talked about driving. We talked about technology. We talked about a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to sign off?
Thanks for watching. Please like and professional YouTubers like us.
Aw, the patent. Must have sentence.
Must have some.
Must have sentence. Okay, but if you're interested in the scenery, we're also recording this on our windshield, so you'll be able to see the rest of our ride if you find that video. Maybe Eric will link to it on this one as the next video to see. But see, I love how these trees like just curve, and there's so many tree tunnels to drive through, which I really love. Okay, so we are now doing 40, and that ends this video.
Yes.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.